Everyone world over, all our brothers and sisters from world over, those are joining us today at 5 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Green morning, green afternoon, green evening, wherever you are, and whatever time zone. We hope you're taking care of yourself, your family, your friends, your neighbors, your community, your society, and everybody whosoever is directly or indirectly in contact with you. Please stay safe, stay fine, because I just spoke to a couple of people in London. Things are not pretty bright, and we would request that situation should not slip out of the hands now, and things should get better because 2020, the whole world has faced a lot of challenges. So, ladies and gentlemen, very warm welcome, hearty welcome, pleasure to have all of you. Today is the 491st webinar, Making Education Relevant, and I wish to share with the global fraternity and the family. Tomorrow evening, we complete 500 webinars, world's globe first organization to have 500 webinars dedicated to education during pandemic with 15,000 educators across the world, schools, colleges, universities, institutions, polytechnic, ITIs, skill centers, competencies-based training providers, counselors, technocrats, whatsoever you can think of, flipped learning, digital learning, blended learning, outside classroom learning, and I want to say whatsoever you can think of an education ecosystem. And my deepest and heartiest thanks and gratitudes to all my brothers and sisters. Now it is a population of 31 million. It was 30 million earlier. 31 million non-resident Indians where our chamber is associated with. International Chamber for Service Industry. So, making education relevant, Swami Vivekananda's teachings for education and youth empowerment. And today, Karma Yoga for national development. This evening, it's a proud privilege through the good offices of our advisor, ICSI, Shri Sudeep Majumdarji. We have got Honorable Professor Tilochan Sastriji, the founder, secretary, and the CEO, Center for Collective Development, CCD. So, we extend a very warm welcome to all of you and a very, very deep thanks and regards to our keynote speaker this evening, Professor Saab. And let me just show a few slides. International Chamber for Service Industry since 1994 in the service, and getting the binding and the confluence and podlocking of all the non-resident Indian from world over. And thereafter, when we started humble journey in 1994 with the baby steps, 2003, then the Honorable Prime Minister of India, along with him, with his vision, we came to Bharatiya Parvasi Divas, and now we have come a very long way. During this pandemic, doctors, nurses, paramedical people, they have done great job, great warriors. But at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, all the educators across, cutting across when you say schools, colleges, universities, everybody has put in their best of efforts. And one of the prediction which has come day before yesterday, one of the analysis which somebody has drawn is that the new education policy 2020, which was declared on 29th of July at 4 p.m. in the evening, the green signal from the Honorable Prime Minister and announced by the Honorable Education Minister of India, Dr. Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank, the world has moved on. The technical, when you talk about in the technology, when you talk about, now this sentence is most important. Whatever was to be implemented in India in the next 10 years in the new education policy, when pandemic came like tsunami and all the teachers started struggling with the technology and they started adopting, adapting, whatever you want to use it. And today, when they are comparatively very comfortable using the technology, Indian education system has moved because Corona came like tsunami. So Indian education system has moved 10 years ahead of its normal implementation of the policy. That means what was to be experienced in 2030 in terms of technical inputs, that has already come in the education policy. That's what we wish to share with all of you. And there are a couple of other things we will share in due course of time. Our chamber from morning 9 o'clock till evening 9 o'clock, 12 hours, and we are in your service. And we are so very happy because through our finishing school, and look at it, now people are talking about soft skills more important than hard skills and whatever it is coming. Way back in 1994, we started focusing on etiquettes, manners, gesture, body language, personality development, articulation, critical thinking, creative thinking, logical thinking, whatever you can think of in terms of creativity and collaborative efforts, what we are calling today as a soft skills, leading with life management skills, we brought from 1994 from our chamber. We are so very happy that the world is moving in that direction. We are so humbled to share with all of you. Our chamber is organizing more than 26 webinars across the world, and we are getting length and breadth of all the continents together. And we are getting valuable inputs of the non-resident Indians. Like today is Saturday, 8 p.m. you have got non-resident Indians deliberating about school education. Tomorrow is Sunday, 8 p.m. Tomorrow is the higher education. Every Saturday, Sunday, the NRIs come live with us. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4 days, we are for the teacher and youth empowerment with the various sector skill council of Cover of India. And for the benefit of those are joining now for the first time with us, there are 37 sector skill councils under the aegis of the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship Government of India, and our chamber is working closely with them. Then Friday, 5 p.m., we bring a direct live telecast for you on water management strategies from Singapore. Saturday, we are for Swami Vivekananda, and immediately after this program, once we talk about this particular area on education and youth empowerment, next program is going to be related to your health. That is Ayurveda, yoga, meditation, naturopathy, nutrition, whatsoever you can think of. Tomorrow morning, 9:30, we will take you to Woodbury University, California, Los Angeles in Burbanks, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and India's main principal Upanishad by Adi Shankaracharya. That is 9:30 in the morning from America tomorrow morning. Tomorrow evening at 3 o'clock, India ASEAN. And tomorrow, 5 p.m. in the evening, Micro, Small, and the Medium Enterprise. And every day in the afternoon at 12:30, a motivational talk for the youth. What does today's youth want? That is something very important. And Monday to Friday, 3 p.m., 5 professors, principals come together on a common platform Monday to Friday. Can you imagine? This is the next program after this. These are all Ayurvedists. And with the support and help of Ministry of Ayush, Government of India, we have done the deliberations across the world, and length and breadth, we have covered all the topics related to health and herbal when we talk about Ayurveda for the global wellness. Tonight at 8 p.m., you will have a live telecast from Doha, Qatar. That is Foundation Year Schooling and Overview for the Future. Ladies and gentlemen, during this pandemic, our chamber has carried out a lot of compilation of the data from about 152 countries, and more than 11,000 people have participated in our entire tabulation. And what we come to know is that the new order of the world, when you talk about B2B, is no more business to business. It is back to basics. Secondly, sustainable development. 3 important areas when you talk about not Delhi, Agra, Jaipur, Golden Triangle. Now it is going to be your basic food, your basic health, and education has to be done in a way, earn and learn. Both the things have to be taken care of together. And our chamber very strongly believes whatever human mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Let's come together. Let's make education relevant. It's a global confluence of educators, motivators, technocrats, counselors, wellness experts, corporate, government administrators, decision makers. Our website is right over here, our email and our WhatsApp number. This evening we are privileged. Professor Tilochan Sastriji, the founder, secretary, and the CEO, Center for Collective Development, is with us. He is the founder, secretary, and CEO of the Center for Collective Development, which promotes cooperatives in dryland areas for small and marginal farmers since 2004. He is also the founder of Farm Veda, a value-added social venture giving all the profits to farmers. He is the chairman and founder of Association for Democratic Reforms. ADR has been conferred 4 national awards from CNN, IBN, NDTV, TOI, and President of India. Professor Sastriji is the distinguished alumni from IIT Delhi, IIM Ahmedabad, and Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Ladies and gentlemen, he did his BTech from IIT Delhi, MTech from IIM Ahmedabad, before doing his PhD from Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He was awarded the Outstanding Contribution Award for the National Development from IIT Delhi. He has taught in Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, from 1991 to February 2003, before being the dean from 2008 to 2011. Currently, he is the faculty in IIM Bangalore. Professor Shastriji is devotee of Ramakrishna order and a well-read follower of Swami Vivekananda. This evening very specially has been packaged for all of us by Sri Sudeep Majumdarji, who is our advisor. He is associated with Ramakrishna Mutt and the mission and its various centers. Now, district convener of Swami Vivekananda Bhava Anugrahi Zila Smiti under Ramakrishna Mission, Institute of Culture, Golpark, Kolkata. He is a member of Mentor Group Parivar Education Society. He is actively involved in social services and tribal welfare work through Rotary clubs on national level and has been felicitated and honored for his work. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in extending a very warm and a very hearty welcome this evening. It's a pleasure. We have got Professor Tilochan Sastriji with us. I would request Sri Sudeep Majumdarji to take over the further proceeding and deliberations. Sri Sudeep Majumdarji.
Thank you, Dr. Gulshan Sharma ji. Very good evening to all the viewers across the globe. You are welcome to the 17th episode of this webinar series on relevance of Swami Vivekananda's teachings in today's education and for youth empowerment under Making Education Relevant program, which is being organized by the International Chamber of Service Industries. I would like to thank ICSI for this noble initiative. And I extend a very warm welcome to the speaker for the evening, Dr. Tilochan Shastriji, who would be speaking on the topic Karma Yoga for National Development. Well, the topic for today's discussion is a very interesting one. While we all understand a bit about what national development means, many may wonder what role does Karma Yoga play in it? While we look forward to Dr. Shastri to make us understand that, I would like to throw some light on the meaning of Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is proposed as one of the 3 fundamental kinds of yoga, the other being Bhakti Yoga, the yoga for devotion, and Jnana Yoga, the yoga for knowledge. Karma Yoga is a yoga for action. The word Karma Yoga, as we see, has 2 words, Karma and Yoga. The word Karma is derived from the Sanskrit word Kri, which means to do. Hence, all action is karma. Technically, this word also means the effects of actions. In connection with metaphysics, it sometimes means effects of which our past actions were the causes. But in Karma Yoga, we simply have to do with the word karma as meaning work. Therefore, all actions are karma, from the most trivial, like brushing our teeth, to elevating actions like meditation. What is yoga? Well, yoga also comes from a Sanskrit word whose roots is in yog, meaning joining, tying together, etc. We generally have a perception that yoga is the activity of breath control or taking different body postures or the activities mentioned by Patanjali. But in Gita, this word has a much wider and somewhat different meaning. The word is used in innumerable places in Gita with the meanings like appropriateness, joining, expertise, attainment, etc. Hence, the essential meaning of yoga is explained as, if I may quote from Bhagavad Gita, as Sri Krishna himself says, Yoga karmeshu kaushalam. Kaushalam means a special talent, an expertise, or a skill. So, doing something with an expertise can be thought to be as yoga. So, yoga can also be interpreted as a way of life. Karma yoga is suggested as a path of action to attain human perfection and happiness and refers to all human activities performed with concentration, skill, and fineness. Well, there is one more thought. We have heard about, a sloka from Gita, Karmanyevadhikaraste, Ma Phaleshu Kadachana. But it has been wrongly interpreted at many a times. You know, especially when we tend to put more importance on the result than on the process, we get we tend to deviate from the very purpose and essence of karma yoga. Means are as important as the goals. A question may arise: if the goal of all action is liberation, then does it mean there is no importance of the actions that are employed as means to attain the goal? Can anyone indulge indiscriminately in any kind of action? Swami Vivekananda said, one of the greatest lessons I have learned in my life is to pay as much attention to the means of work as to the end, in one of his lectures that he delivered in California in 1900. Swami Vivekananda cautions also, he says, our great defect in life is that we are so much drawn to the ideal. The goal is so much more enhancing, sorry, enchanting, so much more alluring, so much bigger in our mental horizon that we lose sight of the details altogether. Well, we need to learn more about it. With these words, I would now like to invite the speaker for the evening, Dr. Trilochan Shastri, to enlighten us on the topic Karma Yoga for National Development. Dr. Shastri, the stage is open for you, and we look forward to enlightening us on the topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sudeep Majumdar, and thank you, Dr. Gulshan Sharma. This is a privilege to be here, and greetings to all the people who are attending from different parts of the world. I think the important points have been covered, so I will try to discuss how to make some of those things practical. And we'll start with three questions. Why Vivekananda, of course, not because it is under the title of Vivekananda, but why Vivekananda? And then what is the attitude with which we work, and how can that help in our own individual life and so-called spiritual evolution, and how it can help in national development. These are some 3 or 4 issues that we will discuss. And I think all of you have heard of Vivekananda, so I will not go on repeating it. But two, three things I want to point out. Towards the end of his life, somebody asked him, apparently, Swamiji, if you read his complete works, you will see that, what is your special contribution? And he said, Karma Yoga. In his complete works, several times he has referred, is all the spiritual life only for sadhus and sannyasis and those who renounce the world? He says, no, it has to be for everybody. And the other thing that is very interesting about Vivekananda is why was he proposing it? Of course, for our own good. But the other thing is he was very disturbed about the condition of the people back then, and even now he would have been, because India has the proud privilege of having the largest number of people below the poverty line. And back then it was worse. So he used to literally roll on the ground and weep in agony at the misery of the masses. So I will just tell one short story, incident in his life, which will provide some kind of a motivation for why we need to do Karma Yoga. So he has come back from America. He is a world famous person. He has been praised by people in America, India. The Maharajas have actually dragged his cart on the streets. The Raja of Ramana did that. And, you know, the kind of praise that and adulation he got was perhaps unparalleled. So he is giving a lecture on Vedanta to the brahmacharis in Belur Math. And Girish Ghosh, who is a very famous devotee of Sri Ramakrishna, and he's a role model for many of us because Girish Ghosh was a very worldly person. He used to drink a lot. We hear that he used to visit prostitutes, all sorts of things he used to do, but he got transformed. By the time this incident I'm referring to, Vivekananda had come back from America, Sri Ramakrishna had passed away, and Girish Ghosh was well transformed. So he tells Vivekananda, Naren, there's a big famine in Bengal. People are starving, there is no food. What does your Vedanta have to say about all this? And then he went on describing the condition of the people. So if you read that book, Conversations with a Disciple by Sharat Chandra Chakravarti, he says, Vivekananda kept the book down, closed his eyes. He started weeping. He got up and walked out of the room. Then Girish Ghosh tells the brahmacharis, now you know why Sri Ramakrishna praised him and placed him above all. You think he's a great intellect, he's a great yogi, he knows the Vedanta, he has shaken America and India, he has done so many great things. But do you see that heart of his? Uska dil dekha, do you see that heart which weeps for the suffering of humanity? So that is the original motivation for doing Karma Yoga. Just love for mankind. And he had it in abundance. Some people call him a modern Buddha, something like that. So that is the original motivation, I would say, from one point of view. But let's forget about all those big things. And he has given a beautiful motto on why we should do, which is the motto of the Ramakrishna mission. Atmano mokshartham jagat hitayacha. So it means that for one's own liberation, Atmano mokshartham, and jagat hitayacha means for the welfare of the world. So he has actually said that the means for one's own liberation is also to do good to the world. I mean, it's very explicitly stated in the motto of the Ramakrishna mission. Now, all this is fine. What is the thing about practice? Let me say one or two things. I'm not an expert on Karma Yoga. I think Dr. Sudeep Majumdar has given a very fine and very short, though, presentation on that. But what you find is that it is very easy to practice. You don't have to starve. You don't have to meditate the whole night. You don't have to do all sorts of tapasya, which Rishi Munis used to do. It is very simple. And since it is very simple and easy, we often think that it's a kuch nahi hoga. But try it not 1 day, 2 days, try it for a few years, and you will start seeing that something does happen. So I'll tell you a few stories. See, I've had the fortune or misfortune of working in the social field for more than 20 years. As a result, you come across many outstanding people around the country who are doing outstanding work. I'll tell you 2, 3 stories. But you see, the thing is, they are all happy people. Today, people are stressed, they have psychological problems, they go to counselors. The whole burden is me, mera kya hoga, what will happen to me? So we are so caught up in me. And karma yoga is a very easy way of liberating yourself from that. So let me start with a story which many of you know, which is about Anna Hazare. Anna Hazare, I had the privilege of meeting him right here in IIM Bangalore when I was the dean. So I went to his room. Fortunately, nobody was there. And I asked him the same question, that why are you doing all this? So he says, look, he's a Jawan. He was not an officer. He doesn't speak English. He speaks Marathi and Hindi. So Hindi mein bol raha tha, but I will speak in English because I don't know the international audience, how many of you know Hindi, so I don't want to get into that. So Anna Hazare said that when he was 26, he wanted to commit suicide because he was very unhappy. In the 1971 war, he was a driver. He used to drive a jeep, army jeep, and some bombs exploded and 67 people died, and he was the only person who survived. And he started thinking that what is this? Why have so many people died? What is my life? And all those kind of questions. He says he was very depressed. He wanted to commit suicide. He has said this publicly, but since he told me one-to-one, I am repeating that, but it is there, publicly available. Then in one of the railway stations, he found a small book, perhaps in Hindi, about Vivekananda. So he read that book. And he says, ki uske baad, I will first say it in Hindi and then I'll translate. He says, मेरे को अपने जीवन का ध्येय, he is using very Sanskritized word, what is the purpose of my life, that became clear to me. After that, Ananda. He says, I was always happy. So I was a little curious. I said, what is the purpose of your life? What have you decided? He says, nothing. अपना जीवन समाज सेवा में समर्पण. Dedicate my life for the cause of the society. Now, this is not the only goal. So please don't think that everybody has to become Anna Hazare and do that. But he found his goal. Then I said, how do you say Ananda? People are abusing you. You went to jail. You have been arrested. So many cases are filed against you. He says, difficulties will come and go, but andar se koi dikkat nahi hoti. I mean, I don't find any problem from inside. So the first thing is, we all have to think calmly. And he was not that old. He was only 26. Just think coolly and calmly, what do I want to do in my life? There are different people. Srinivas Ramanujam became a mathematician. Sachin Tendulkar became a cricketer. Think a little bit, what is it that I want to do? Not that you have to become so great. If you can, why not? Nothing prevents you. But a little bit of thought on what I want to do with myself. Another story I'll tell you is about Mamun Akhtar. So when I was staying in Belur Math, I think Sudhip ji is nodding his head. He knows about Mamun. So Mamun Akhtar contacted me and said, you please come. So he came in one Khatara van, which he had borrowed from somebody, and took me to Tikiapada, which is a slum near Howrah station. It's a very filthy slum, and it was before COVID. And you will feel a little concerned that maybe bimar ho jayenge. The gullies are full of drain water, a lot of dirt lying around, very crowded. And it's 100% Muslim area, Tikiapada. Wherever I go with him, walking around, people were saying Salam Alaikum. And this Mamun Akhtar was full of joy. He was always smiling. Then he showed me the work he was doing. He had set up a clinic for people there, very neat and clean with top doctors. He had set up education for girls. He had set up a system for livelihoods for women. And his heart is so big that when his wife was delivering the second child in the hospital, on the next bed, another child was born whose mother died. So without a thought, he and his wife said, Ye Allah ki deen hai, so we will take that other child also. Now he says, I have got 3 children. Now, if you go to the school, he has got a big picture of Swami Vivekananda. So I said, how did you get this picture of Vivekananda? He said, no, I read about him. I find him very inspiring. I said, don't the people in your community try to He says, yeah, some people say something, but I don't bother about it. Now, Mamun Akhtar, if you see his life, he grew up, he was born in the slum, but he has dedicated his life for the welfare of the people there. And the amazing thing is that he's a happy person. He is a true karma yogi. And so the reason I started with Anna Hazare and Mamun Akhtar is that they are not English speaking, highly educated people from some middle class or went to elite colleges and all that. They are so called very ordinary people and right from the grassroots, but they are great people and they're happy people and they're doing a very wonderful job for the society. The other day, we discovered one of our IIM graduates, her name is Samina Bano. Of course, she's also a Muslim, but so it happens. So she got a top job in New York and she was working with Deloitte. You know, Premier Institute in Bangalore and very brilliant girl. So she got a job with Deloitte and she was working there. Now she suddenly got a brainwave that I want to go back to India and do some work. So after 2-3 years, and she was doing well in her job, she quit her job and she went back to Lucknow. She not went back to Lucknow, she went to Lucknow. And now in the last 4-5 years, she has put 230,000 children back to school. You know, people who are very poor, who are running around without schools and all that. And there's a long story, but she has dedicated her life to that. I said, how did you manage? She said, you know, initially there was no money, so I started spending my own savings. So she spends 25 lakhs of her own money. Then later on, of course, other people started supporting her, and now she is doing well. Now she's also very happy. She's very young, of course, probably just about 30 or so, but been at it for now 7-8 years. So this is another story. And I can go on and on and on. There are many such stories. I will just close the story with another friend of mine called Abhay. So Abhay is originally Bhojpuri from Bihar. And he grew up in Telangana, what is now called Telangana. He studied in some engineering college there. And his father was still alive. His father retired as a top managing director of Uptron and in the Department of Electronics and all. So he comes from a well-to-do family. And his own elder brother is married to an American and lives in California, which is the dream of many of us Indians. Now, this fellow, after working for a few years, he had decided from childhood that he wants to do social work. So he left that. And then he went to northern Karnataka, where he didn't know a word of Kannada. Now he speaks Kannada so fluently, it's amazing. He speaks Kannada, he speaks Telugu, he speaks, of course, Bhojpuri, he speaks Hindi, and of course, he speaks English quite well. And now he has improved the lives of 1.5 lakh people. The garib, you know, very poor people who are working in the villages. And there is a horrible system there called Devdasi system, where Dalit girls are married to God and used and misused by the community. He got them all liberated, sent their children to school, and provided livelihoods for 1.5 lakh people, etc. Now he's also a very happy person. He's like my younger brother. He comes whenever he comes to Bangalore, he stays with me. Now, what is common about these kind of people? It is not education and intelligence. I'm glad that we have to now think about education not merely in the classroom or college or even through these lectures. The best educator is life, and the best educator is your own thinking. Of course, you get inputs and proddings and inspiration from here and there. So what is it common about these? I know at least 20 such people, so I cannot go on telling stories, so I've just stopped with 4 or 5. There are many such outstanding people. And as Hindi mein kehte hain ki hum unke samne natmastak. I mean, we have to do Shashtang Pranam to such people because they're really outstanding people. So you think, what is common about these people? What is common is, see, I tell you, Mamun Akhtar believes in Vivekananda. Anna Hazare believes in Vivekananda. Samina Bano, I'm not saying she does not believe, but I don't know what her religious belief is. And Abhay is kind of a spiritual person, no doubt, but not like that. I mean, he's more of an action person. And you know, some other people who are out and out communists, the good ones, communist in the sense not revolution and guns and all, but communist in the sense that non-violent. They believe. So what is common? The first thing is they have a deep love and compassion for people. Then you wonder, ये सब में क्यों नहीं होता है? So what you discover is, it is like a mathematics. They are very unselfish people. The more unselfish you are, the more you love. The more you are concerned about yourself, me, mera kya hoga, what is my education, how much money will I earn, how will I do in life, what is my security, what is my family, my me. Puri life, whole life is spent about me. But these people are already free. वो आजाद हो गए. I mean, not that they don't have family, two of them are married, two of them are not married, and they all, but they don't worry about what's going to happen to me. They're more worried about how to do good to society. So it's a twin thing. The more unselfish you are, the more love you have. The more love you have, the more unselfish you are. That's how Karma Yoga works actually. And the whole burden in spiritual life, they say, is the ego. And Karma Yoga is a fairly easy way of liberating yourself. So these are the two qualities that I found, that they are unselfish and they don't worry about themselves. And number two is that they are full of love and compassion. I mean, it's not that they are all the time talking about it, but their action, their words, you live and move with them. Basically, that's what motivates them. Or kuch hai nahi usme. Then you think, okay, all this is fine. This used to bother me a lot. That, you feel bad for garib log, you do seva. What will happen to that fellow? If I do good works, I get so-called punya or merit in the language of Karma Yoga. I get some good effect. But that fellow, what happens to him? He is receiving. So Patanjali Yoga Sutra says, aparigraha means don't accept anything. Now we are going on giving him something. No, that's not it. So Vivekananda said very nicely, all the wealth in the world poured into one tiny village will not help them unless you make people self-reliant. It's a very famous quote. I like it. That's one attitude. The second thing is, he used to call it man-making religion. I think today, in today's context, one may start quibbling about gender equality, but I think he made man and woman making religion. That means each person should be made self-reliant and able to stand on their own feet. It's like he's your brother or sister. They have some trouble, they are poor, etc. But as equals, with full of respect for the other person, we work with them. We don't work for them, we work with them. We don't make them dependent. But we say, yes, we are here with you. So we don't make them daan ke patra, means they don't become vessels for receiving your charity. So this is not the way to do social work. And this attitude is very, very important. If you want to do real work, you cannot reduce people whom you want to serve as recipients of your, of course, at the highest level, as recipients of your love and compassion. Of course, at the highest level, which I have not reached, they will say that it is because the divine spark is in every human being, so you are actually worshipping God in them and all. But I've tried it, it doesn't, but compassion is good enough. It works reasonably well. When you become spiritually illumined, then maybe you will realize that there's a divine spark in everyone, and therefore I'm not serving him or that person, but I'm serving the God within that person. But try to keep that attitude. So this attitude with which you work and the motivation, that is more than sufficient to do the Karma Yoga reasonably well. Now, when it comes to national development, since we are talking about national development, somebody asked Vivekananda. Vivekananda himself wrote, because he was not only a giant, but he used to observe very carefully. You read his complete works. If you want to learn anything, karma, you just read his complete works. Fire and inspiration. There's nothing else. Just read it. And nearly everything is in his original language. A few of them are translated from Bengali to English, but most of his things are directly in English itself. So there's no translation also. So that's the beauty. And he speaks a modern language. So he says when he went to England, one of the questions he was asking is, a small country, some 7,000-8,000 kilometers away, island somewhere, with 1/20th the population of India. In those days, they came by ships, 300, 400 people by ship. how did they conquer, so-called conquer this huge country? What is it that the British have? So he was very insightful. He said that John Doe, that's a kind of a aphorism. John Doe is an average Englishman. He knows how to obey without being servile. Now, in India, we are either rebellious or we are always just falling at each other's feet and saying, he's so great, and so is puja and all that. We don't know how to obey while keeping our self-respect intact. But he says the Britishers know that. Now, that spirit has to come. That comes by the way we work, by making people, man making religion, making people self-reliant. He didn't like this namby-pamby people, Vivekananda. He says, be strong, muscles of iron, nerves of steel, all that kind of stuff. He used to always say, Vivekananda. So be strong and vigorous. So that was one of the things. Now, he said three things about national development, which we can discuss a little bit. He said that three things are required for a nation to become great. It's there and a lot of people know it, but I'm just repeating it. So one is belief in the power of good. Don't be cynical. That good work, good people, they can make a difference. So belief in the power of good. Absence of jealousy. So he used to say that, this is a bit of a problem in India. Absence of jealousy. And third thing he said is helping all the people who are doing good, helping them also. Not so helping everybody who's doing good. So work together. So he used to believe strongly in the power of organization. He says that the Western societies were well organized. And when you're organized, there will be a leader, there will be a follower. When you start off, if you're very young, you may be just a follower, but you have to keep your self-respect intact. You have to work for the cause, but you don't become rebellious or just blindly follow whatever is told to you. So that sort of a thing that, so faith in the power of good, absence of jealousy, and helping those who are doing good. So if little maybe discussion on this, faith in the power of good is the best antidote to cynicism. Now, there are many people who meet, young, old, all sorts of people who think that everything has gone bad. Yes, there are many problems, nobody denies that. Nothing can be done, and sab kuch barbad ho gaya. Everything has gone to dog. What is the use of wasting our time and all this? And this is to blame, that is to blame, just blaming here and there and being very cynical. Actually, psychologically, since we're talking about karma yoga, we are giving ourselves a escape route. We are telling ourselves, see, everything is messed up, so I don't need to worry about it. What can I do? That cynicism is an excuse you are making to yourself for not doing anything. So faith not only in the power of good, but faith also. Vivekananda, look at this, it says, the old religion said, have faith in God. The new religion says, have faith in yourself. Do you have that faith? So you have to develop faith in yourself. When you have faith in yourself, you will have faith in the power of good. When you don't have faith in yourself only, you start becoming cynical because you think, I am no good. You don't want to acknowledge that. Therefore, you say everything else no good. You become cynical. So aisa nahi chalega. It's a positive kind of a thing, faith in the power of good. Absence of jealousy. See, this jealousy is, he used to say, is a slave mentality. Jealousy is the hallmark of those who are slaves. When I went to America, I stayed there for 5 years. I used to also observe. I found, at least in social interactions and personal interaction, complete lack of jealousy. They appreciate other people who have done something good. They never criticize people behind their backs. It's not socially acceptable. Here, I don't want to go on criticizing India. We are masters of criticizing people behind their backs. But we should avoid that. I'm not saying American society is perfect. I'm just telling you the positive parts. There are many things we can discuss. Every society has positive. But, ano kritva, they say, let noble thoughts come to us from all directions, as the Veda says. So we're just taking the good points of America. And they treat people with dignity. We don't do that. So again, he says in national development things that attitude is important. So he says, you go to the harbor in New York, and one fellow comes out of the ship. He's a refugee from Europe, some Poland or Ireland or some country has come. and his back is bent, and he's kind of saying, hello, sir, and he's looking very servile. And he says, 6 months later you meet him on the streets, he's standing straight, and he says, good morning, sir, how are you? And he is now become a man. There's something about that society which does not tolerate servility. I've seen people at MIT, which is a world famous institute, the janitor who sweeps the floors. If Jim Orlin, who is in his field internationally known professor, he used to come, he used to say, hi Jim, good morning. And Jim used to talk to that guy and say, how are you today? And they used to chat for 5 minutes. And then Jim Orlin used to go to his office. Of course, this guy continued to sweep the floor and that guy continued to be international professor, but the interaction was man to man as equal. I was amazed because I had never seen that. Now, right today in IIM Bangalore, there are people who sweep the floors outside. So as a professor, if you walk, they just go and stand on the side like this. Why do they have to do that? I mean, they can give you space to walk, but why are they so servile? It is because we treat them like that and they have learned to behave like that. And if they don't behave like that, we sort of show our power over them. So this is a problem of a slavish mentality where you get enjoyment by trying to boss over people who are in so-called less powerful than you. We have to get rid of this. And as a result, what happens is that jealousy. You're jealous of people who are doing better than you. In the Mahabharata, they say that blessed is the person who is not jealous, because if somebody is doing very well, you should celebrate and be happy. Oh, so-and-so is doing so well. So there's absence of jealousy, and it is also due to clinging to the ego. Me. So we cling to ourselves so much, and therefore we feel small because somebody, in Hindi film dialogue, there is one, I'll say it in Hindi. So Amal Palekar says, somebody is going on praising another fellow in front of Amal Palekar. Not Amal Palekar, who is that other guy? Nana Patekar. So he says, uske bade hone se main chota nahi hota hu. He said that because that man is big, I do not become small. Let us at least have that attitude. Let us not think that we have become small. And this jealousy has to be thrown out. You will find that the best societies don't have that. And the third thing is helping all who are doing good. You see, we have to generously help all those who are doing good. And there are many people in India who are doing that. I'm not saying that there are many great people. So these three things, if we do, then it will be much better. Then I will add one more idea, because I am told that there are many apparently young people who are. So there was a great interview of a great man called Manibhai Desai. So Manibhai Desai was a great leader, social worker in Gujarat. He's founded an organization called Bharat Agro Industries Foundation, BIFE. And he died in 1992, but BIFE is still doing strong work from the freedom movement and so on. So towards the end of his life, in an interview, he says, of course, he dedicated his life. He never got married. He gave away his family property, went to the villages of Gujarat and Maharashtra and started working with the people and did fantastic work. And that work you can even now go and see it. I mean, the organization continues. He said, honesty, commitment, dedication, sacrifice, he says that is not sufficient. He says, of course, we need all that, but that is not sufficient. You also need the capability. Like Vivekananda, he said, we need to learn modern management and technology from the West. Of course, now we have technology in India also, but we can't just say, I've sacrificed everything, I am so dedicated, therefore now nobody can question me, etc. You have to deliver results, you have to be capable. So as young people, one of the things you should think about is, yes, we will see about social work and all that, but today what is my duty? Yes, to some extent you help and volunteer, but become a master of whatever you are doing. If you're good in sports, follow sports. If you're good in music, follow music. If you're good in whatever, in cooking, singing, in studies, in engineering, medicine, or even as a shop floor worker, whatever you do, you become excellent in that. So that capability will be useful when, if and at all you want to do some social work or anything else for the society. Because I've found many of these NGOs yes, people have, young people are passionate and some are ideal, many are idealistic also, and they go there, but they have not bothered to work hard and learn the skill. So in a way, what this ICSI is doing with education and providing inputs on many modern educational tools, please learn that and become as good as you can on that. Only then you can do something useful for people. You cannot just say, I am very dedicated, I feel so bad for the poor and I've given up everything, and then you're doing nothing. So that sort of a thing is also not particularly useful. So these are some of the 4 or 5 points that you might want to think about. And the attitude within oneself, which of course Sudeep Mazumdar has talked about, one has to think also. So one is the attitude that you treat people with respect, you don't look down on them, etc. The other thing is, he also mentioned that karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana, etc., etc. Now, what does it mean? You think for yourself. You see, you look at Vivekananda himself. He is one of the greatest karma yogis. The original karma yogi, if you go back, is Krishna himself, by the way. I think, who is a karma yogi? Krishna is talking, and then I suddenly realized Krishna himself is the karma yogi. He is demonstrating how to be detached in the middle of the war. He doesn't take sides. He's detached. He's always smiling. So, what is that attitude? I mean, what does it do to oneself? See, Vivekananda and Krishna are illumined people. Okay, one is a prophet, one is an avatar. They are ideals in front of us, which we can try to emulate. They work out of the full consciousness of who they really are. They know the Atman, etc., etc. But what about me? I'm just an ordinary person. I don't know all this. What attitude should I work with? So I asked one sannyasi who is 125 years, who was formerly in the Ramakrishna mission, but he now lives somewhere in the Himalayas. I don't know if he's still alive. I went to meet him. So I asked him, Swamiji, what is Karma Yoga? He was mostly talking in Hindi, but I'll translate. He says, कुछ नहीं, जो भी करते हो वो भगवान को अर्पित करो. Whatever work you do, you offer to God. Now, it's very simple and seems that I don't have to do any tapas, but it works. What about people who don't believe in God? Because I am always worried about that, because I see it doesn't matter if you don't believe in God. It doesn't matter. Vivekananda himself says, if a man never goes to a church, never goes to a temple, never does any worship, never does etc., by that power of unselfish work, he attains to the same goal as someone who has done all this tapasya. He's just emphasizing that power of unselfishness. So whatever work you do, you say, not for me. I don't accept the result. Not for me. So whether you're an atheist or not an atheist doesn't matter. One of the great atheists, I mean, I'm sorry if some people don't accept that, was Bhagat Singh. So Bhagat Singh, if you read, he says, with no thought of reward in this life or the life after, am I giving up my life for the nation because I could not do otherwise. He's an atheist, but this is a statement straight out of the Bhagavad Gita. So it doesn't matter whether you believe in God or not, but you just liberate yourself from your own selfishness and don't accept. Now, does it mean that you don't worry about the result? What is that result? Nobody worked better than Vivekananda. He established the Ramakrishna mission. You read, everything was like perfect. And as one of the speakers, I think Sudipta said that karmasya kaushalam, yoga karmasya kaushalam. That means yoga is that which makes you skillful in work. It is the inner result. If you're working for the people, of course you want to do your best to make sure that something positive happens. But you don't accept the psychological result. You know, you talked about karma and all that. So feeling of, oh, people praise me, so I feel happy. Arey, tum to itne great aadmi ho, tum to logon ki seva kar rahe ho. All the inner psychological fruits. Phaleshu. He doesn't say result. Actually, he says phal. Krishna actually never says result. He says phal. The fruits of action. So the fruits of action are the inner psychological fruits. name, fame, power, feeling very puffed up because people say you're so great, or feeling depressed because people say you're useless. Don't accept anything. Just leave it at that. He says, Krishna Arpanam, Ram Krishna Arpanam, give it to Allah, give it to Jesus, or give it to, not for me, if you're a Buddhist and an agnostic, doesn't matter. Don't accept the result. But work with full concentration, work with full dedication. Try to make sure that you get all the results, but don't accept it. So, this psychologically over time, what it does is it frees you. So, in the karmic theory, they say that we come with karmas, prarabdha, etc. So, there is a fan in my room, okay? If you put on the switch, it will go on running. What happens when you put off the switch? The fan doesn't stop immediately. It continues for some time. So you put off the switch. Put off the switch of selfishness. The karmas will continue, but eventually they'll stop. Because inside all the tendencies and vasanas and karmas from this life, previous life, whatever the theories are there, they have to express themselves. What Karma Yoga says is you just let them play out, but be detached. It's like putting off the switch of the fan. Eventually, the fan will slowly stop. So that is the inner psychological thing that I have been able to understand. Maybe some people will agree or disagree. So this whole thing is very easy to do. You have to have the faith. There's nothing very difficult. Just every day do a little bit. You will see over time that your attitude changes, your mental stress goes, you become happy, you make other people happy, and all the worldly things that people want, which is unfortunate, people will praise you, you'll get wonderful friends, you will get all the joys of life. Sab kuch milega. I have never seen a person, I know, as I said, personally 20, 30 people, maybe many more, who are working in the villages, in the towns, in the slums, and doing all kinds of wonderful work. I have not met anybody who is unhappy or stressed or psychologically troubled. I have not met anybody who is starving. Yes, they don't have a very luxurious life. Some of them have a reasonably good life, including me. I'm a professor, I have a reasonably good life. But they are free. They're already free. 50%, 70% they're free. So it helps you and it helps the society. And I think, like India, they say, led the first non-violent revolution. Of course, there's a lot of political discussion. I don't want to get into that, which the world was amazed to see. Maybe we will do national development through the power of Karma Yoga, which will become something for the world to appreciate. Because right now there is too much of strife all over the world. And India is the only place where we can demonstrate, perhaps, no, sir, let us do it this way. We will be happy, you will be happy, and let us all not only help our own country, but maybe become a model for other countries. So think about it, and I would be happy to interact with any of the particularly younger people. I feel a little intimidated by older people because they are wiser and have more experience. With the younger people, even after this talk, we'll be happy to interact. And thank you so much to ICSI, Dr. Gulshan Kumar and Sudeep ji for giving us this opportunity. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Shastri ji. It was really a very enlightening one. And to carry on with the examples of some of the people that you had quoted, and yes, when you were mentioning about Mamoon Akhtar, yes, I was smiling because, yeah, I'm fortunate enough to know him. In fact, another person which probably you also might be knowing is Vinayak Lohani.
Very well.
He has been doing exceptional work,
Absolutely.
exactly the way you said. And he was the person who introduced me to Mamun Bhai. I visited his place. And yes, in fact, just 2 days back, I was at Parivar at Vinayak's place, and Mamun Bhai was also there. And the whole day we spent together discussing many things.
So I'll ask you, sir,
yes.
Are they happy or unhappy people? Tell me.
Absolutely happy.
So
there's no iota of unhappiness. Because as you know it much better. Unhappiness is basically the result of our desires which are not met. So the more worldly desires we have, the more unhappy we are. And people tend to think other way. They think if they, the desires are there and they are there to achieve it, they'll be happy. that happiness they are never able to get. They might get pleasure or joy for some small moment of time, but they don't get that eternal, long-lasting happiness. And with these people that you mentioned, they are not doing anything for their own self. It is they are doing a selfless work, and naturally the happiness is abundant in them. Uh, Coming back to our topic again, karma yoga for national development, and when you described the work, the karma is work and action, and yoga about expertise. Yes, you quoted the name of Sachin Tendulkar. He wouldn't have been Sachin Tendulkar had he not been an expert in his own field. So being an expert in your own field, whichever field you are in, and being totally dedicated, as you rightly said, with full amount of concentration, that itself is karma yoga.
Sudipta, just one small intervention which I forgot to
Yeah.
mention in the talk. They work very hard.
Yes.
Every day he practice.
Yes. Yes.
Roger Federer.
Yes.
Yesterday I heard Itzhak Perlman, who's a beautiful violinist. Man, hard work is required. Whatever your talent is, you have to work hard. I think that's something we have
Yes.
to.
That is sadhana. That is sadhana. That dedication has to be there.
Yes.
And of course, when one when takes his work or action or whatever one has to do, he takes it to that level of expertise, the performance automatically comes. There is no reason why one should be failing and why one should not be happy about it. Only a few days back, there is one more point which you touched lightly. I just would like to add, and that is being unattached. Being unattached to the results. You talked about that psychological pulse and everything. Just a few days back, right now we have this Australia-India cricket series going on. In the very first test, India in the second innings was bowled out for 36 runs. And a couple of days after that, I read a article where Smith of Australia, he was telling the Indian players, forget what happened in that test. Don't let that be a baggage with your thought process. So that is unattachment. It is not that you lower your guard and you underperform. You work with your full dedication, with the full of expertise. But results, whether they are to your liking or not, you need to be detached from that. Yes. Otherwise, we get bogged down with the results, and we think more of the results than of the means, as Swamiji says.
Absolutely.
And when that happens, we develop ourselves as individuals. And how will a nation is not it doesn't come out of itself. Every individual combinedly we form the nation. So the nation is as good as we individually are.
Absolutely.
So rather than doing trying to do something good for others, if we incorporate these very ideas of karma yoga for, as you said, for our own moksha or betterment, and for the betterment of welfare of others. So if that is done, we grow and we take others and grow with them. We cannot grow individually when our surrounding and people around us are not growing. We talked about the absence of jealousy and about helping all those who are doing good work. Unfortunately, there are people who still claim to be working in this service industry, trying to do something for the people. They claim to do it unselfishly, but still they think another organization or other people doing good as their competitors. And whenever I meet them, I tell them, see, it's a collaboration. We are not into commercial activity that we should go into a competition.
Yes.
What is the harm in sharing your experience and resources if we can for the larger benefit of others? Every individual and every organization has its limitations. But if we join hands, we can overcome that limitation and really do what Swamiji is telling us to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I think we have come to the end of the session, and it was, we would have liked to go on and on, but time does not permit. I would thank you so much for really coming here and enlightening us. We wanted to have you much earlier, but somehow it is better late than never. You know, we have come to the last session of the year 2020 of this particular episode on Swami Vivekananda. Thanks to Dr. Gulshan Sharma ji, and thanks to the International Chamber of Service Industries. Wish everybody Merry Christmas and a very happy and prosperous New Year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sudip Majumdarji. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Professor Trilochan Sastriji. I would say when he talked, I was listening, and I don't know what happens is whenever I listen to something related to Vivekananda ji, I've started getting into a meditation. I've started getting into a meditation. And the first examples which he quoted initially, and such a simple way, where he told about Anna Hazare, I was trying to relate to that coming from the armed forces background. He was in the ASC, Army Supply Corps, and he was a driver over there. And when he mentioned Professor Saab about 1971 war and everything related to that, and thereafter when he gave second example, then this girl who went all the way to States and thereafter came back, I'm going to say, I think मेरे को तो पूरा जो टॉक इनका जो पूरा है ना, वो मुझे एक ही बात इनका एक सेंटेंस पर आकर सब कुछ रुक गया मेरा. Everything stopped over there when he mentioned national development through Karam Yoga. National development through Karam Yoga. I personally feel, लेकिन बहुत द्वंद्व चल रहा है. आज की युवा पीढ़ी जो है, आज का जो यूथ है और आज की जो टेक्नोलॉजी है, उसको जब मैं लेकर चलता हूं तो यूथ ये कहता है, मॉम आपको सामान चाहिए ना, आपको मार्केट से सामान आ जाएगा, मैं अभी ऑर्डर प्लेस करता हूं मोबाइल पे, आपको मिल जाएगा. Why do you want to send me to market? Okay, number 2, Dad, you want me to do something, na? I will do it, no problem. I will become economically meaningful to society. But why are you telling me to do hard work? Now, hard work, smart work. इन दोनों का भी द्वंद्व मेरे को बहुत ज्यादा तकलीफ अभी दे रहा है, बहुत ज्यादा. And thirdly, the more and more I'm meeting the people, and particularly now Professor Saab, when he told me in a very humble way, before he came for his basically interaction and sharing his thought process, and when he told me, it's a great learning that IIT Delhi, that I am Ahmedabad, then going to MIT all the way to United States, coming back to I am Bangalore, and then getting somewhere. Who am I? What am I doing? What can I do? And what should be done? जब इन्होंने कर्म योग की बातचीत की, I got so much convinced and motivated. मेरा एक ही philosophy और एक ही चीजों को मेरे को लगता है हमेशा believe करने के लिए, there is no shortcut to hard work. Hard work तो करना पड़ेगा, कहीं पर भी है करना पड़ेगा. And number 2, जिस चीज को हम ढूंढ रहे हैं, अब जैसे इनसे, I don't know, he also might have come across to a person. There is a gentleman called Jay Kumar. He has come back from Houston, and Houston से वापस आया है, कोयम्बटूर में है. And that gentleman, now at present, he is doing seva over there, and he left a job for 5 crore per year. And when I was talking to him on phone, और वो भी प्रोफेसर साहब की तरह, where like he is an intellectual, well read, well qualified, and devoted so much of his life and all. ऐसे लोग जो हैं वो inspiration है society के लिए. And particularly our younger generation, those are watching this particular program at the age of 72. I wish to learn. I want to be a humble student. I just want to give and give. I don't want to take up. बहुत हो गया. We got to pick up, and whatever we can give the best to the society. So this evening, my deepest regards, gratitudes, and thanks to Professor Trilochan ji and Sudip Majumdar ji. The journey begins over here. 2020 has got over, but Swami Vivekananda's series has started. It has just started and we got to move on. मैं rather ये सोच रहा हूं, पब्लिक में बोल रहा हूं आपको कि एक प्रोग्राम की जगह 2 प्रोग्राम सप्ताह में होने चाहिए, एक टीचर्स के लिए और एक यूथ के लिए, क्योंकि जो नई एजुकेशन पॉलिसी 2020 आया है इसमें बच्चों पर नहीं, इस पे टीचर्स पर ज्यादा ध्यान दिया गया है. सो आई वुड मेक इट अ वेरी हम्बल वे. सुदीप मजुमदार जी, अभी मुझको तो मांगना ही मांगना है 2021 के अंदर. ये देखिए भिक्षा मांग रहे हैं. सो माय रिक्वेस्ट टू यू वुड बी कि हमको 2021 में instead of one we should do 2 programs. One should be focused for educators and one should be focused for youth. That means our students. और तीसरा, प्रोफेसर साहब की आज जो मुलाकात हमारे साथ हुई है और जो प्रोफेसर साहब ने बताया है, सोशल एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप पे इनसे एक दिन निवेदन करना है और आज ही कमिटमेंट लेनी है तो ठीक है, नहीं तो बाद में ले लेंगे, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. सोशल एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप पे इनके साथ करना है. थैंक यू सर. Thanks for coming. It was a pleasure to have you and wishing you all a great, wonderful, happy